Year 13, we're just going to start the first bit of psychological explanations for schizophrenia. Okay, I'd like you to highlight this information in your booklet, please. There are two psychological explanations of schizophrenia: family dysfunction and the cognitive explanation. Family dysfunction explanations suggest that schizophrenia is due to family experiences, interpersonal conflict, communication problems, criticism, and control. We're going to cover things like the schizophrenic mother, double-bind theory, and expressed emotion. So the schizophrenic mother, Fromm and Reichman, proposed that the psychodynamic explanation for schizophrenia is based on conversations she had with patients about their childhood. Remember, the psychodynamic explanation comes from Freud, and it's about your unconscious and your kind of hidden desires. She found that they all spoke about a particular parenting type named as which she named the schizophrenic mother, and it literally means schizophrenia causing. The type of mother is cold, rejecting, and controlling. They also tend to create the family climate that is tense and secret. This can lead to distrust and therefore paranoid delusions, and ultimately schizophrenia. Double-bind theory. Bateson agreed that the family climate is important in the development of schizophrenia, but emphasized the role of communication style within the family. The developing child regularly finds themselves trapped in situations where they fear doing the wrong thing. They receive mixed messages about what the wrong thing is. They also feel unable to express the unfairness of a situation, or they ask for clarity. When they do get it wrong, which is often, the children are punished by the parent by withdrawing their love. This leads to symptoms like disorganized thinking and paranoid delusions. So essentially, the communication, the interpersonal relationships, the communication is just not clear from what's coming from the parent about what the right thing is to do. They keep trying to do the right thing. They're getting punished for doing what they think is right, and they're often punished by withdrawing their love. Finally, expressed emotions. And this is the level of negative emotions expressed towards a person with schizophrenia by their carers. It includes verbal criticisms of the person, occasionally accompanied by violence, hostility towards a person, anger and rejection, emotional over-involvement in the person, including needless self-sacrifice. So, for example, you might say, "Oh, I'm not a mother or a father might turn around and say, I can't go to work today because I've got to look after you, or I'm not able to go to my book club every week now because I've got to do something for you." But it's not needed. When they say to look after you, they'll be fine on their own. So that needless self-sacrifice is from the person, the carer, if you will, and they make them feel bad for something that they shouldn't do. These are all serious sources of stress for the patient, can often be the cause of relapse for schizophrenics, as well as the onset for those who are vulnerable. Expressed emotion, or EE, is a measure of the family environment that's based on how relatives of psychiatric patients spontaneously talk about the patient. It's a psychological term specifically applied to psychiatric patients. Theoretically, a high level of EE, expressed emotion, in the home can worsen as the prognosis in patients with mental illness such as schizophrenia and social anxiety disorder, or they act as a potential risk factor in the development of the psychiatric disease. Typically, it's determined whether a person or family has high EE or low EE through taped interview, known as the Camberwell Family Interview, the CFI. Answers to questions on non-verbal cues are used to determine to see if someone has high expressed emotion. They're going to be looking to see, again, how the family all are interacting with each other. Are they criticizing them? Are they hostile? Are they standoffish? Are they giving this idea, are they too involved in their life and giving up their own hobbies and interests and work to be over-involved? So that over-involvement, including the needless self-sacrifice, is not something that needs to be done. This is a stress that the caregiver is putting onto a person. What I'd like you to do is mix and match now. These are in your booklets. What's the name of the explanation? Who said it? Characteristics of the family. impact it has on the individual, and symptoms associated with schizophrenia. Pause the video now, and I'd like you to complete the mix and match. Okay, here are the answers. So the schizophrenic mother, Fromm and Reichman, cold, controlling, rejecting, and that leads to excessive stress and distrust in the family climate, characterized by tension and secrecy, and it triggers psychotic thinking, paranoid delusions, ultimately schizophrenia. Double bind theory was Bateson, and the child received mixed messages about not being able to do the right thing. That leads to understanding the world as confusing and dangerous. This triggers disorganized thinking, paranoid delusions that ultimately lead to schizophrenia. Finally, expressed emotion with Kavanagh. The family shows exaggerated involvement in the life, including needless self-sacrifice, control, verbal criticism of the patient, occasionally including violence and hostility towards the patient. That leads to excessive stress beyond impaired coping mechanisms, and that triggers a relapse in patients with schizophrenia, and it may trigger the onset in a person who's already vulnerable due to their genetic makeup. This is where I'm going to stop the video. That's all I want us to do, and then next time we're going to do the cognitive approach. So the last thing that I want you to do now is, you don't actually have to write it down, but I want you to think about the cognitive approach. What are the assumptions? What were the evaluation points for it? Give examples of theories and things based on the cognitive approach. So please come to our next lesson with an idea of what the cognitive approach is, and we will pick it up from there. Your homework is going to be to create revision notes on everything up to including drug treatments. If you want to, excuse me, get ahead, you can start with the family dysfunction explanation of psychological explanations, but all that you're required to do is research notes on up to drug treatments. I'm also going to set you a page of the independent learning booklet, which we need to keep cracking on with. Thanks very much, guys. This is where I'm going to stop the video.